Howdy folks, I'm Rebecca Jolly the Jolly Alchemist here, almost unwillingly, to give a neutrino forecast, or at least to talk about energy associated with Saturday the 25th of October 2025. Okay, now I put down my journal because I gotta talk. I've been having a problem, and that is that I've been feeling more and more like a daily transit machine, and that's not what I am, and that's not what I'm trying to do here. I've been sitting here for hours with the homework, the research done, and just not wanting to give the fucking transit. So what's wrong? And I feel like I need to recalibrate. So I started this project because it occurred to me, I'm tracking these transits, I'm learning a lot. Might be fun, might be interesting. Maybe some other people could benefit from learning about the transits. But there was more. It's also about making a record of my progress and my transformation so that other people can perhaps have some inspiration in seeing that human design is a tool that can be used to help us achieve greater insight and self-empowerment by watching the last bit of my transformation that's happening. And it's of course not the last bit, it's just a chapter of the ongoing transformation. But something is wrong, something is not okay, and I am not the kind of person that can just keep on doing that. If we look at my chart, we see, as generators go, I have the sacral motor, but I do not have any of the three other motors. And so, I don't know, I kind of feel in some ways like for being a generator, I don't have that much energy. And perhaps part of that is because I don't even know why I'm crying. I gave so much of my energy to children. And it seems like now that was something of a mistake. But it's not like I could have done anything else in the time. I was so committed to motherhood and to doing my best and giving my children all the best that I could, that I didn't realize that perhaps it would have been useful to show them that a mother has to come first. Wow, that's the connection to the transit. Okay, I get it. Okay. So, today we're supposed to be talking about gate 28 and 27. So, 28 is about risks. That's here in this central individual channel of struggle. Interestingly enough. With 28 specifically being the gate of risks. The gate of the game player. And really part of this channel of struggle, with 38 on the other side being fighting, struggling. And what's going on is a dynamic in this channel is we take a risk, and then the 38 part is asking ourselves, is it worth the risk? Is it worth the struggle? And what I was reading about the 28, especially in the first line, is that
A mature understanding of this gate entails the understanding that we don't take risks wildly. We take risks to meet our needs. And yeah, I guess that's why it's falling out today, because I'm sitting here on the couch for hours, not able to get a sacral response to make the video, thinking of stopping the videos altogether, because it's not worth it to me to be this unhappy for something that there's only a few people watching it anyway. This is for me. I'm not doing this channel so that I can get a bunch of views. I'm not getting it so that I can be rich and famous. I'm doing it so that I can track my own progress, and if somebody else gets something out of that, then that's okay. So it's very important that there be something there for me in that. I keep thinking of this person who basically came to me and said, "Oh, when such and such happens, I'll subscribe to your channel." And I thought, I don't care. My channel, as far as you're concerned, is to help you. It's not to give me fame and fortune, because I promise you, there's no fame and fortune in 50 some subscribers, or whatever the number is. I don't keep track. But there's just so much swirling around and going on. And then we have gate 27. Yeah, 27. So that's the other end of this channel of the 5027. This is the channel of nurturing, or God, there's another name for it. Whatever. We have values on this side, and it's basically conveying values and being the opposite of this channel over here that's creating children, and here we're nurturing and providing for children to grow. And you can see, of course, the root of some of my problems in that I have the 50th gate activation, the values, experimentally, and on the other side, no actual constant nurturing energy in my design. So all those years that I spent giving, and perhaps the question is over giving to children, I was really leaning into something that I did not have energetic support to do. Well, okay, that's lovely to say now that the job is done and my kids are off living their own lives and not really needing or wanting input from me anymore. But the first line in the 27th gate is to take care of yourself, to take care of yourself first. And you know, it's interesting for me. My process is intuitive. And in a way, that's really good, because we're moving into an intuitive age. And so the people who can master intuitive action can have a degree of, I don't know if it's really power, but at least self-power in the times ahead. So raw for me, yay. But an intuitive process is not an easy thing to carry, because the mind is always full of self-doubt. Is this really the message? Is this really the thing? I don't know. Can the sacral authority be followed on a moment-to-moment basis? I know people who say no, but I'm feeling like the answer is actually yes. And that if I follow my authority, even on a moment-to-moment basis, I could get someplace that is better for me somehow. You know, it's weird. In some ways, I feel like I've figured out so much more even than a vast majority of regular folks. Certainly a vast majority of anyone that I ever grew up with or knew. But what does it serve me?
Like, I meet people, especially when I'm in my power-ups, who are genius. They figured things out. They're very, very smart. And then I sit down and talk with them, and I try to establish a common ground, and I find that I can immediately see, and perhaps it's because I have Joyous Vitality here in 58, which is pointing towards that 18, the focus on the broken. I find I can more or less quickly find out where they're broken, and not to dismiss them or their process, but just it's easy for me to see those people and to see. And perhaps also we have some of that happening here because I am a fifth line unconsciously, what it might be that they need or that could help them in their journey. But it's interesting. The thing that I've noticed is that it's very spiky. You have people who are really, really smart here, and then super behind here. Really, really smart, and then So then it's a matter of okay, you have all these levels at which you've got your game together. You're wise, you're smart, you're advanced, cool for you, and then you're looking at the areas where you're not so advanced. And in my case, uh, my biggest problem as I see it, and maybe I'm not seeing it clearly, but my biggest problem as I see it is being overweight. And I don't just mean in my body, I mean in my belongings, in my surroundings. There's too much and I'm overwhelmed by it. And I don't know how to solve it. I don't know how to fix it. And I've been spending a long time sitting in this basement thinking that the fixing needed to come by somebody else coming here or maybe doing a trade with me for this extremely valuable information that I have. But on some level, people don't really want that information. When they do, they have a tendency to find it. I know somebody who learned human design on TikTok. I don't know how that can happen, but apparently it can. So I don't know how much of the information that I have is even uh, useful or necessary for people, because everybody's got their own process. And if we consider that on some level we don't have choice, but whether or not we have choice doesn't really matter as much as the fact that we must act in our lives as if we do have choice. And the most important thing, everybody says over and over again, is to choose insofar as we can whether or not to grow up, whether or not to become love and a more evolved kind of consciousness. Well, okay. I get that. And I've definitely made that choice. So I've definitely spent years, decades even, moving at whatever speed in the right direction. But for all the places that I've discovered things, gained wisdom, had insight, had magic, wonderful experiences, there's still a few things that are like dragging at the back end, and more I feel the pressure of that. And you know it's just so strange, even in this transit where I'm kind of like bitching and not wanting to do my job. I still am actually doing my job, because what the fuck, we're talking about the intuition to take care of yourself first. Well, here I am doing that. I'm talking about the things that are meeting my needs and not meeting my needs. And 28.1 is preparation. And in preparation, you have to look at the details. Okay, well, I'm pretty fucking busy looking at the details. And this risk-taking behavior, according to Ra, must be based on needs, not just wild and random risks, but
risks in order to get our needs met. So then I have to say, okay, well, is this risk that I'm taking and sitting here just talking about shit and crying in front of a camera, is this contributing somehow to me getting my needs met? And I think it must be, although there's not a lot of clarity in the moment. I just don't know, man. It doesn't feel like enough. It doesn't feel like it's it doesn't feel satisfying enough. Maybe it's that the format of this channel and the transits, and especially the fact that they have to be made a day or two ahead of time so that the editing can get done and it can get posted in a timely fashion to be, early enough for anyone else who's curious to take advantage of it. Huh. I don't know, maybe there's something I hadn't thought of before. The fact that starting to do the transits has sort of pushed me out of my own time cycle in forcing me to record transits ahead of time. Because I was trying to think, what's the difference between what I'm doing now and what I was doing for all the months before I actually started recording the transits? And I'm just realizing that right there is a difference. Before, I just had to, do the writing, study the numbers for myself and say, oh, okay, see if maybe I have an internal insight. And then when I shifted to recording them, yeah, other things came in, like, silly scarves and ties and songs to support it and more background work to be able to explain things better to someone else, things that maybe I knew myself, but not in a concise enough way to be able to give out to other people. But there is a pressure. There's a pressure, and that's, of course, it's one of my jobs to figure out what the deal is with this pressure center and this feeling that we tend to have when we have this center open of, can I just rush and get through things so that I can relax? And of course, it never works that way. Even if you do get to relax, it's just for a few minutes before, another transit is due. And it's like, well, okay. And it does help me to think that people are watching, maybe learning, maybe getting something out of it for themselves in their journey. That's wonderful. Is that enough of a reason for me to keep on keeping on day after day? I don't know. But maybe it would be helpful to me if I switched my focus from trying to give the world a weather report, so to speak, of the neutrino energy into more just doing my homework before I do the video, and then if that gets mentioned, if I find some sort of concurrence between the transit and what's going on with me, cool. If not, that's okay. Okay, I've gone astray in thinking that the transits could be for other people, that I should do them for other people. There's the pressure. I need to refocus on the transits being not like, let me help you by telling you what energy is ahead, although, that might help you, and if it does, it's cool. But it's in this process more for me about understanding on a deep level what these energies mean for me. Oh, yeah, okay, yeah. I'm remembering the story, and I've told it here before, about how when Ra was doing his own heaviest deconditioning, he sat on a hill alone on an island, and he could feel, he said, his gates opening and closing. And when I heard that,
that was so influential for me. That, I mean, just the thought of being that sensitive to the energies in our bodies, and that is part of, it's like in that moment I made a wish that I could feel that too, that I could be that sensitive. And I see now that this uh, project of tracking the transits, as boring as it seems to everybody else, basically. I mean, when I was talking about doing this, everybody was like, yeah, would really like to see you teach another class or do a workshop on this or go in this direction. But I really, really felt drawn to the transits. And of course, now, almost a year later, I am seeing why, because it has been enormously helpful to my process. But in making that request, in setting that intention, oh, that's making connections there too. I see. In setting this intention, what tends to happen to me, I'm figuring out, is when I set a serious intention like that, the under layers of my consciousness immediately go to work. Like Keebler elves in the background, hidden inside the trunk going, all right, the wish has come down. This is what she wants. What can we set up for her so that she can get that? And it takes me this weird way through this weird shit that nobody else understands. And I'm just lucky that I have one or two people willing to put up with me while I'm doing this weird shit that doesn't make sense until much, much, much later, if at all. And it's a space in which I can be more or less crazy. By which I mean to say doing things without necessarily having a logic or a reason behind them. And there was a reason behind doing the transits. It was like, oh, learning opportunity, cool, deep dive, go through the line companion and the cross index, the incarnation cross index, and be able to, really get into the details, whatever, all that. But now I see this is an essential step on the journey to becoming sensitive enough to be able to feel my gates opening and closing. It's like when I've been talking about the transits with other people, especially people that have mentored me or taught me, guided me in some way, their feelings on the thing have always been, when they talk to me, that the transit energies are very subtle and that really on a practical level, nobody feels them at all. And I thought, I don't think that's true. I don't think that's true. I think it's possible for us to really get somewhere with the transits, feel a lot with the transits. Yet another snafu. But maybe not for the average human in today's society who's conditioned, who's been trained to be just like everybody else, to stand in a row and wait your turn and pay attention and study for the tests and leave so much of our individual internal processes behind. I think that in a lot of cases, generally, and in my case specifically, that breaking process that happened through growing up and through attending public school, although it wasn't public school, actually, it was a Dodge school. But anyway, that breaking process, that process in which I was so sharply and fiercely separated from the wisdom of my own body and my own mind, I think that tore not just the pieces that I see, but a fabric. It tore a fabric of sensitivity that I was meant to have. And rebuilding that fabric has to be done thread by thread. Oh, it's so painful. And what do I get? You know, at this point, I'm still at like the cheesecloth stage where I've done a ton of internal work and studying and getting to the bottom and looking at details and listening to boring lectures, um, and some exciting ones, but mostly boring. Raw is uh, limited of limited appeal when it comes to hundreds of hours of listening to him, I have to say. Um, on one side, I am seeing progress. On one side, I am seeing a closer relationship between following my authority and feeling the magic. Oh, okay, that's something that I can explain. But I'm already 26 minutes in, so I'm going to put that off till tomorrow. And I'm going to make a note of that so that I do not forget that I want to talk about what it means to be in the groove, what it means uh, to find the magic. And so I'm going to make some notes of that and see if that works into where I'm going. I don't know where I'm going, but I'm purely working on intuition here. So if this is interesting to you, cool. If it's not, all right, don't watch then. And maybe it'll just be at some future point a record for me to look back on and track my own progress with, or somebody who really cares about me to be able to track my progress with, or somebody who has a lot in common with me to feel like they're not alone in the process. Either way, that's it for me. I'll come back and maybe cry again for you tomorrow. I'm Rebecca Jolly. Ciao.